Check. Was that my chair?
Yeah, it was. Hope it was anyway.
When I do editing, your voice is really low.
Yep.
Like you're not a loud talker.
No, not at all.
So I just find that
Soft spoken.
Yeah. This will be episode 5.
Do you need to work out to ride better? Brought to you by Mitch.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mitch. This is the Fit4Moto Academy podcast where we talk about all things motocross related, riding, fitness, eating, lifestyle stuff. We talk about racing, just a whole bunch of stuff that's going to help people ride better because we love the sport and we're really into it. So I'm joined today by my co-host Rick. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mitch?
I'm awesome, dude. You sound way better with that mic.
Yes.
It's you have a very bassy voice.
Thank you, I think.
Sounds way better. I like that we changed that. So yeah, episode 5, man. Do you need to work out to ride better? And I'm just trying to read your chicken scratch.
Oh man, it's terrible, isn't it? It's so bad.
Hey, if you can read it, that's all that matters for sure.
There's about 4 different spellings for the same word there too.
I like it. So that's it, man. That's episode 5. And you got anything to add before we roll into the intro?
Now let's get started.
Okay, let's do it. Episode 5. Here we go. Do you need to work out to ride better? Okay. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. I love that intro, by the way.
It is so good, isn't it? Yeah, I like it. It's a catchy little tune.
Makes me want to dance. I don't know how to dance, but it makes me want to.
I've never seen you even do anything remotely as it relates to any sort of dancing move, ever.
And you never will. It just won't happen. Not going to happen.
Okay, yeah. I'm just intrigued by the blue drink that you have here. Is that the rocket fuel?
You know it. It's about 2 scoops right there. It's been a rough weekend.
That's pretty intense. You're going to be sticking to the walls by the end of that.
I just might take off in my chair.
It looks really good, though. I'll give you that.
It's awfully tasty.
Yeah.
Tasty. Blue Raz.
Blue Raz. That's the money.
It is.
Sweet. Okay, so yeah, man. So this podcast, we just want to talk about kind of a basic workout thing. And as a rider, obviously doing any type of fitness stuff is going to help you on some level, but let's break that down a little bit because I know even at the track that I ride at, a lot of people will go and ride, but they don't necessarily work out either, right? And they may know that they should work out, but I don't know, for whatever reason, they're just, whether life happens or they don't know what they're doing or whatever that is, but for some reason they're not working out.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that they should be working out, but you're right. It's tough to fit it in. But maybe we can come up with a few reasons why you should fit it in. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you are going to fit it in, what does that even look like, right? What is it? What does kind of a basic workout type thing look like? How much time do you need to put in? Or, I mean, let's talk about some of the cons too, because let's face it, there are some cons. As much as that may be a weird thing to understand, my mustache keeps poking into the mic, into the foam.
You're due for a trim.
No, it's good. Wanted to pull the foam off, but it's making lots of noise. No, this mustache, dude, I'm thinking curls.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm thinking I'm going to grow some curls in it, like an old-timey mustache, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did the beard wax today to look extra good for the YouTube people out there.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll lend you some of that and see if we can get a curl going.
Sweet. Is it really thick wax? Like compared to
how do you measure a thickness
candle.
of wax?
Candle. Is it like a candle? Like are you rubbing a candle on your face?
No, I'm not rubbing a candle on my face.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're going like the Dollarama and all you can find is a candle.
Fair enough.
What if you dripped wax onto your beard? Does that work?
Oh, absolutely. For the more permanent hold.
Yeah,
for sure.
Remember back in high school, there'd be like hair gel or something. It's like extra firm hold. Your hair was like crunchy.
Oh, was it dippity doing? Like you touch it and crunch.
Yeah, totally. That stuff you can definitely get at a dollar store.
Yes, you can.
For probably like $1 for 10 liters of it. And who knows what it is.
Yep.
Man. Anyway. So, man, basic workout. I guess let's just start off with what is a basic workout? What does that even mean? Because that can mean a whole lot of different things.
And I think that's something that varies depending on each person. So what I do, my basic workout would be very different from yours.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. Judging by those massive arms, yeah.
No. That's not it at all.
Are you able to flex for the camera?
You see, for the people that don't know, Rick is somewhat of what we call a genetic freak in that he
can eat all the cheeseburgers.
he does not get fat. He seems to be a freak of nature in everything that he does. So whereas someone like me, I have to do absurdly stupid things just to try and remain remotely fit.
Remotely, come on.
But yeah, so a basic workout, I think, like you said, that kind of depends on the person. But for me, what a basic workout means is some form of cardiovascular exercise or cardio, right? Now that can be going for a jog, that can be doing some cycling, that can be, depending on where you're at in life, maybe that means speed walking. I don't know, man. Like, because maybe some of the listeners, a lot of them are, going to be probably younger than 50-ish, I'm guessing.
I think so.
Right? But maybe not. Maybe there's some guys that are older than 50, or some people have some busted up hips or something. So maybe doing like a fast walk is all you can do, and that's fantastic. You can always do that uphill, and that can be some cardio too. So I think on some level you have to do some sort of cardiovascular exercise and build your aerobic capacity, right? Now, for the people who don't know the difference between aerobic and anaerobic conditioning, aerobic is just your cardiovascular endurance. So really what your heart and your lungs can put out before you start to build up that lactic acid in your blood, and your VO2 max starts to rise too high and you just can't clear it out anymore. So if you think of like a runner, if you're doing sprints, your aerobic capacity is your ability to run at a faster pace than maybe you could before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So as opposed to anaerobic conditioning, now anaerobic involves some sort of muscle activation, not in the form of endurance like running or cycling, but more so if you think of like push-ups or chin-ups, something like that, where you're using kind of a shorter duration style of movement where the lactic acid builds up very, very quickly and your body can't get rid of that quick enough. And then the muscle fatigues and ends up just giving out altogether. Now, that obviously is on one sort of, extreme end of the spectrum, because if you look at like a CrossFitter, a CrossFit workout is very, well, depending on, again, the movement, they do running and stuff too, but a lot of it is going to be anaerobic style of conditioning. So lots of pull-ups, lots of squats, overhead presses with weights, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes, most definitely. So, knowing what anaerobic is, push this up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi. So why would it matter to increase that capacity? Like what does that? You said a whole bunch of cool stuff with big fancy words, but what does that get me when I go to the track?
So two things. So let's start out with aerobic conditioning. So like I said, that's running, cycling, that kind of stuff. Your body's ability to build your lung capacity, right? So you'll be able to draw in more air and exhale more CO2, right? So you're going to have more oxygen going through your blood. That's going to increase your body's ability to do that aerobic capacity. Okay. So that helps big time when you're riding, because, like anyone who's ridden or done any sort of workout, you start breathing pretty heavy, right? So it only stands to reason then that if you have more lung capacity and your aerobic conditioning is higher, you'll be able to draw in more liters of air, get that through your body, so your body can perform at a higher level without getting tuckered out.
Gotcha. So I'm doing more laps on the track before I have to pull off.
Yeah. Okay. So that can mean doing, maybe you're doing a 10-minute or a 15-minute ride, or maybe if you're doing mountain biking, right? Maybe that means that if you're riding up a hill you'll be able to go at a faster pace up that hill.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Now, the other side of that is the anaerobic conditioning. So if you're doing like push-ups or body weight squats or pull-ups or something like that, as it relates to riding, you're obviously trying to wrestle around like a 200 plus pound machine, right? So aerobic conditioning is only going to get you so far with that, especially as a newer rider, because you may not have the finesse or the technique to really kind of get that bike around the track and not use a whole lot of muscle, right? So as a newer rider, you kind of need some of that, to rely on some of that strength to get the bike around a little bit. And, but that's when the anaerobic side of things can come into play. And that's where, again, let's just take body weight squats, right? So you're just doing air squats.
Okay.
Now, if you combine that with a little bit of aerobic conditioning, like running or cycling, your body's ability to do more squats before it gets tired is going to go up. So that's a pretty easy example as it relates to riding, because you're constantly standing up on the bike, right? You're coming into a corner, out of a corner, you're constantly standing up and down. So your body's ability to do more of those per lap, or for longer, more laps, or, if you're doing off-road stuff for more hours, that sort of thing, that's going to increase,
Okay.
So recently I went out, I was riding on some off-road stuff, and I was doing a lot of standing, like a lot of standing. And that can tuck your legs out pretty quickly, right? Because you don't have your legs just straightened right out. There's a slight bend in your legs, right? So that means that you're using a lot of that leg conditioning to be able to do that before your legs start to get tuckered out.
Gotcha.
So when I say aerobic or anaerobic conditioning, really that just means your cardio level, like how big your lungs are, how much your heart can put out, right?
Okay.
So you want to build that. And then there's the anaerobic, which really just means how many times can your muscles function before they get tuckered out, build with lactic acid, and can't do anymore.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes sense. Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah. So, so I think you need to involve some form of, I'll call it base cardio for that, and some form of weight training or anaerobic conditioning. Weight training, that can be just straight doing weights, or that can also be a CrossFit style thing that involves weight.
Gotcha. So there must be some sweet spot where you're not leaning too far into one or the other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I think, people who are riding at a higher level probably have a fairly good understanding of where they're weak and where they're strong here. Okay. For someone that's newer, I would say, you want to start off with, I'm going to say 30 minutes, certainly if you're starting off 30 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week of cardio. So running, cycling, that sort of thing.
And what level of intensity is that? Like, are you going to be just giving it everything you've got, pouring buckets of sweat, or is it a bit more dialed back? Yeah,
you definitely want to be doing some dialed back stuff. That's a good question. So when I talk about your heart rate and in your zone, right, without getting too far into the weeds on this, because we could do a whole other podcast on zone training within your heart rate and all that kind of stuff. You basically want to keep it around 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So let's say, for the sake of argument, your max heart rate, is, I don't know, let's say 200 beats per minute, right? You want to be around 60 to 70% of that and maintain that for, say, 30 minutes or so.
Okay. Now, do you have a way to tell what that is without using a watch or something like that?
Yeah. So you literally can just feel your pulse on your wrist,
okay,
and count that for 60 seconds, and that's your heart rate, your beats per minute. It's really, so you don't need any sort of equipment or anything. Really just check you can put your two, what are these two fingers called? Index and middle? Is that the index, right?
That's the ring one, so it's not that one.
Yeah.
That's your pinky.
Yeah. So index and middle.
Yep.
By process of elimination,
there we go,
folks. We have figured out what the index finger is.
And we're sure it's not this one. That's a thumb.
Yeah, I think that might be it. So, so your index finger and your middle finger, just find that pulse in your wrist, count that for 60 seconds. That's your beats per minute, right? So you want to keep that to 60 to 70% of your max. Now, there are different ways to find your max. Honestly, you just go online, Google it. There's a little calculator. You can punch it in. It used to be 220 minus your age was kind of your max, but that is like a super duper ballpark figure for it.
Gotcha.
So don't rely on that whatsoever. And that doesn't include genetic dispositions or something that may, because like we're close in age, but your max heart rate is higher than mine, and that's just genetically I'm built like a hippo, and I can't get my heart rate that high. So when you're doing that cardio or that aerobic side of training, just for a basic workout, you're going to want to keep it fairly light. Do at least 20 minutes to see any benefits at all. More is better for sure. That's why you hear about guys doing like 4-hour bicycle rides. I was going to say bike rides. That's when, they're really building on that base. But look, this is life. We're not getting paid to do this. So we don't always have 4 hours in a day to ride a bicycle.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep. So for somebody starting out, minimum 20 minutes to see some benefit. Is there a max that you should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, only in so much as you can start to encroach on the overtraining zone.
Okay.
Now, again, overtraining, we could do a whole nother podcast on just overtraining alone. Because there's a lot of debate about what that even is. Is it possible? When do you start encroaching on it? What does it look like when you're overtraining? What are the symptoms of that, right? And maybe we'll do another podcast on overtraining. Because it is a fairly interesting topic, at least to me anyway. So yeah, you can do too much for sure. But I think honestly, if we keep it pretty basic, your body will tell you when you're doing too much of that. So just real quick, some of the symptoms might be you're always tired no matter what. You have lost motivation. Your stomach's not feeling good. Your body will start to tell you that the workouts and the riding are harder than it's ever been, right? Even though you should be getting better and better, your body will basically start to tell you need to back off.
That sounds like me getting old.
Yeah. So
that's me every day.
So think about it this way. Think about like what you think you'd feel like in 10 years. That's going to happen in a matter of weeks or months.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your body starts to let you know pretty quick what that will look like. Again, without getting too far into the weeds on that, but so I would say as far as a basic workout goes, include that at least 20 minutes. If you can do 30 minutes or 40 minutes, a couple times a week to start out, right? And then I would also include some anaerobic training. Now, whether that's straight strength training or CrossFit workouts or a mixture of everything, something that's going to activate that muscle fiber and get it to start reprogramming itself for something that it wasn't used to before.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So again, I would say 20 minutes minimum, right? So, I mean, look, all in, you could do a 40-minute workout and get some benefits from it. Everyone has 40 minutes in a day.
Yeah.
Everyone does, right? So, now I know some people are like, oh, well, I've got kids and, they got to go to soccer practice and I've got a job and I've got all these things. I can tell you, if it's important to you, you will find a way to do it. And 40 minutes is nothing. 40 minutes is nothing, right?
Yeah, you're just watching one less show on Netflix or something.
Yeah, dude. Like, for real, you can squeeze it out. And even if you on a certain day, maybe you don't have time for that 40 minutes, you can probably find 30 minutes to do something, right? You can find 30 minutes to go for a bike ride or go for a quick jog or whatever it is. So I think that's some basic workout stuff, right? And keep it really, really simple. Again, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but just keeping it straightforward like that. I mean, look, you're literally just getting your body to do what it was designed to do. So you don't need to make it complicated. Yes, we could come up with some extravagant fitness plan for you. Yes, we could come up with a crazy CrossFit workout plan and this big scheduling system and all this stuff. But the reality is, at the end of the day, something is better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely. So you said keep it basic. How basic could we get it? Like what is the most basic workout you could come up with on the spot right now?
For me, let's say I have no equipment, I have very little time, and I got to get something done. The first thing that comes to mind is run a mile, do a bunch of push-ups, a bunch of squats, and say some burpees, and then run another mile.
Sounds easy enough.
It's that easy, dude. Okay. It's that easy. And you can just, depending on where you're at, you can say, okay, I'm going to run a mile. I'm going to do 20 push-ups, 40 air squats, 10 burpees. Then I'm going to run a couple 100 meters, come back, do that again, repeat that process 4 times. And at the end of it, run another mile. You don't need any equipment. And even if you don't have a straight mile ahead of you, I mean, look at shit. It doesn't even need to be measured out as a mile. Just run. Run until you're tired and then come back.
Yeah.
Right? That may be 100 meters and maybe that's 4 kilometers for you. But that's what I'm saying is that you can keep it really basic and you're still going to see some of what those benefits are. So and I've done this before when I've been out camping, I will literally just do laps around this little campground until it adds up to 5 kilometers.
There's that weirdo going around the campground.
Totally,
again.
dude.
Just at it for 2 hours.
Yeah, man. I literally would just run circles around this little campground until it adds up to the 5 kilometers or whatever distance I decided to run. Then I'll go back to my campsite and I will literally just do push-ups, air squats, burpees. If I can find a tree branch, maybe some pull-ups, something like that. No equipment. Then I'll go for another run. Really, really basic, but you'll still get a lot of those benefits.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah. So on that, so we've talked about kind of what the basic workout might be. We talked about what some of the benefits are, right? So your ability you have more lung capacity, you can increase your air intake, all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And interestingly, of note, your lung capacity can be measured as well.
And how the heck do you do that?
So there's a little, it's basically just a little machine that accepts airflow rates.
Okay.
And you'll take in a really deep breath, like as deep as you possibly can, and then you exhale that breath as quickly and as hard as you possibly can, and it'll read the tidal volume of your air that comes out of your lungs. And so it's just interesting that you can actually put a number on it. So we could we could both step up to that machine, do the exact same thing, and we can compare our actual lung capacity and say, your lungs have the ability to hold 5 liters of air. His lungs have the ability to hold 7 liters of air, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And it is typically measured in liters of air.
Okay.
And, but what's cool is that even doing basic stuff like that, you will actually see a tidal volume increase in your lung capacity.
Nice. And so that's something that changes in weeks, months, years, as long as you keep training?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Now, obviously, there's going to be a point where your body, you can't
37 liters of air. Yeah, that's where I cap out.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, right? Okay. Obviously, there's an end limit to what you can do. Mm-hmm. But other than the freaks of nature out there, I would venture to say that those end limits probably won't be reached by most people.
Gotcha.
The human body is a pretty amazing thing, and its ability to adapt to what you're doing is pretty substantial. Mm-hmm. So I would say, unless you're a freak of nature, and you are going in balls out, you're probably not going to hit that max.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. And again, within your age limits and all that kind of stuff. So that's one increase. We've talked about kind of that stuff. And then obviously on the anaerobic side of things, as it relates to any sort of weighted thing, again, that can be body weight too, right? Mm-hmm. Plyometrics, it's called. Okay. There's a lot of benefits to that too, that will help with riding. So let's just keep it simple, because that's kind of the theme for this pod is basic, right? Basic workout stuff. So let's say air squats or push-ups. Everyone knows what push-ups are.
Absolutely. Yep. Right?
So doing, let's say, a bunch of push-ups during your workout, what are some of the benefits of that? I'm curious to get your opinion. Doing push-ups, what do you think the benefits are?
Strengthens your chest and triceps. You use that quite a bit in day-to-day life. Burn some extra calories. That's all I got.
Yeah, totally. And all of those are right. You will burn extra calories. You will increase the strength in your chest and in your triceps, because it's just a pushing movement, right? Mm-hmm. So your triceps get involved in that. But if we dig a little bit deeper than that, and again, trying to stay not too far into the weeds on this, you do actually start to change things, like the rate coding, it's called. So your muscle's ability to recuperate more muscle fibers in an instant will increase, which is pretty cool. And as it relates to riding a bike, that matters big time, right? Because there's all these tiny little changes that you're doing on the bike. So your body's ability to recruit more fiber in an instant to recorrect that is pretty major.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, totally. So that's another benefit of doing any sort of strength training stuff, is something called rate coding of the tissue. And then there's the strength and all that kind of stuff too, right? Your body's ability to move blood in and out of that also increases. So as you exercise, and on the cardio side of things, your heart gets stronger, it can pump more blood, your lungs expand more, et cetera, et cetera. on the weight training side, just as it relates to kind of the fluid in your system, your body can more efficiently move blood through the system as well. So that helps with both delivering oxygen, but also delivering the nutrients afterwards.
Gotcha. And how would that affect arm pump while I'm riding? The dreaded arm pump.
And so, well, I mean, and here's the thing too. Honestly, it's not the strength training side that's going to affect so much with arm pump. I mean, it is, again, I'm trying to keep this very general. So, the people that are watching this, don't be like, well, this is bullshit. Because, you hang on. I get it. Yes, strength training will help you. But honestly, the bigger part of this, and we'll do a podcast on arm pump as well, because then I can really get into the weeds on what that is. What can you effectively do about it? Mm-hmm. But just keeping it very general here, honestly, probably the cardio side is going to help you more with arm pump, because it's as your heart rate lowers and can run at a lower pace, your body can handle nerves or anxiety a little better. Okay. That's going to lower your arm pump. It's really kind of that simple.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, and then obviously with any sort of body weight stuff, plyometrics, weight training, any of that kind of stuff, there's also the other side where it builds bone density, right? It will build your tendon thickness, so you don't have so many tendon injuries, right? I actually just read something that was about ACLs. Now, ACL injuries in motocross are unfortunately really, really common. And, whether you catch your foot in a rut or you snag your leg or whatever that is, ACL injuries are super common. In people that do some sort of resistance training, your ACL can be up to 2 times thicker than normal.
Oh, no way.
2 times thicker. So that's
help for sure.
That's 100% harder to snap that tendon if we're talking numbers, right? I'm not a numbers guy, but...
Yeah. So you're a pretty fit guy. You've been active and extremely fit your entire life, it seems like. I imagine you've had a few crashes on your dirt bike. Have you broken anything?
No. So interestingly enough, that's a really good point, I guess, is that I've had a lot of soft tissue trauma. So really deep bruising, all that kind of stuff. But I've never broken any bones. And I haven't had any, that's not true. I had one tendon snap off, but it's because my thumb got twisted back against my forearm. So, I mean, there's no amount of tendon strength or thickness is going to stop that.
You're just not working your tendon hard enough.
Yeah, I need to work my thumb tendons.
Thumb tendon, lots of thumbs up.
Yeah, so it got snagged on the handlebars and then it got twisted back to my wrist and it snapped the tendons off. Ouch. But again, there's no amount of anything that's going to stop that, right? That just is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, of all the kind of the big crashes that I've had, bite my tongue and knock on wood here, I've not broken any bones or anything. Now, the last big crash that I had, I guess where I got fairly injured, when I went into the emergency room, I had kind of major soft tissue trauma to my one side. And when I went and saw the emerge doctor there, I couldn't walk and I was pretty beat up. And I actually just high-sided off of a jump and I got kind of cannonbolted down this kind of like little hill and hit the ground and bounced a bunch. But anyway, so when I went and seen the doctor, he actually commented, he goes, if you didn't have the muscle mass that you do, you for sure would have broke your femur and a bunch of other bones. He goes, it's that tissue that took the impact and stopped you from breaking those bones, which is interesting.
Dang. Femurs are pretty important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I was pretty thankful at that moment, right?
Yeah.
Although it did feel like I got hit by a bus, but at least I didn't have anything broken.
Yeah.
So that's another benefit of doing that kind of stuff. Now, that's great and all. Yay, hooray for us. We've talked about you should work out. Yay, right? Fantastic. But here, look, this is reality. So what are some cons here, man? Because look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows as it relates to working out and stuff. There's got to be some cons to this. So what are those? You've been working out for a long time. What kind of cons do we got going?
Injuries. Injuries in life, whether it is riding or in the gym itself, that's something that can set you back huge. Another thing is there are times where I'll miss workouts for days, weeks, once in a while a month. Hate to admit that. And so I'll get back in the gym and I'll try and make up for it by doing an insane workout. And I find I do that and I am done for a good week. Like I can't move. I can't get off the toilet.
You go
crawling
full
downstairs.
crazy.
Totally. Absolutely. So yeah, that's definitely a con. So when we do get back into it, just need to be a bit more moderate and tone it down a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll touch on injuries quick. That's probably, I mean, if we're talking cons, that's probably got to be the number one con, man, is getting hurt. Now, here's the thing, though, that is well within your control, right? Injuries are well within you. Now, granted, as long as you don't have some predetermined disease that makes your tendons easy to snap or something like that. I'm talking the average person here. Getting injured is well within your control.
Oh, I was going to say every injury I've had is my own fault. I've pushed too hard. I've tried something a touch too advanced, too heavy, worked too hard. It's on me.
Yeah, totally. So maybe an easy way to sum that up is just keep the ego out of it, right?
Absolutely. Check the ego at the door.
Yeah, you don't need to bench press 400 pounds the first time you go into the gym, or you don't need to run crazy sprints the first time you decide to do some cardio. You're like, I'm going to throw the blades on here and and just start sprinting up a hill and pull a hamstring or tear a calf or something, right? Your body needs time to adjust to what you're doing. So the cons are injuries. Yes. How do we combat that? Start off slow. Listen to your body. If things are sore or if they're hurting, listen to it, back off of that, or else you will end up getting hurt.
Yeah, you got to remember why you're in the gym in the first place. It's to get healthy, to get fit. You're there for yourself, not for the person beside you. So if I'm at the gym, I shouldn't be trying to keep up to you or matching what you're doing if I'm not capable of that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's tough though as humans, right? Because especially if there's some chick that's like she's out benching you, you're like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, time to tone it up a bit.
You're like, but I'm swinging for the fences. I'm benching 400.
Totally, but there are ladies out there that bench your max for their warm up.
Yeah,
you will never be the best.
No, and
you just won't. So
that's just it.
Just remember, you're there for yourself. Check that ego.
Yeah, and the way I've always looked at it, and the way that I've always avoided injuries. Fortunately, I've never had any substantial injuries, I guess, from any sort of gym stuff. I've had lots of tweaks and sore things here and there. Right now, I've been doing a ton of running, a ton of running, like almost 10 kilometers a day, every day. And so my soleus muscle, which if you don't know is the one underneath your calf muscles. So there's your big calf muscles, where some people have big calf muscles. There's actually a muscle underneath those that is really the workhorse of your ankle movement. I was going to use the technical terms. We'll keep it down to movement. So moving your foot up and down, your soleus muscle is really the workhorse for that. Now again, there's muscles in the front of your shin that also help and all this kind of stuff. But point is, the soleus muscle is beneath what people think are their calf muscles, and those are the gastros. Beneath that is a soleus muscle. So I've been dealing with it's getting really tight from all the running. So I've been trying to roll it out and stretch it and all that kind of stuff, trying to make it a little less pissed off at me.
Yeah.
But that's one of the cons. So yes, my cardio base is going up. Yes, I'm more efficient at running, which I hate, by the way. Like, I hate running. I'm getting better at it, but there are some cons to it, right? I am starting to get some tweaks.
Gotcha.
So definitely injury. What was one of the other ones you talked about?
Injuries and
soreness, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too. So even if you can avoid some injuries, definitely you need to, like, if you go into the gym, you're like, boom, I'm here. I'm going to start doing squat. Dude, it can even be air squats or body squats. And if you decide, okay, I'm hitting 500 of these today, yeah, you're going to be torqued up the next day because you didn't kind of ease into it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so if you're either first getting into it, or you're like, maybe you're like 40, right? Mm-hmm. Which is
one of those
still,
really old people.
Which is still a spring chicken, I might add. Yeah. Spring chicken. But let's say, you're 40 and you're like, okay, well, back when I was 18 to 20, I used to crush the gym. Now you're thinking, you're considering kind of getting back into it, which is fantastic. What I've found to happen a lot with people that I've trained over the years is that they'll go in and try and kind of replicate what they used to do. And they end up, they're a complete wreck. So there's two negative effects to that. One is using your example, let's say you're doing some leg stuff, you can't even get off the shitter, right? Like it, dude, it's anyone who's had like super sore legs, you can appreciate what I mean when I say like it is painful.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
So that's one of the cons to it, right? Is just straight, and that's something called DOMS. So delayed onset muscle soreness. There are some ways to combat that. So you're not quite so sore the next day. But the number one way to combat that is just through muscle conditioning. So doing it repetitively enough that your body doesn't really get like that anymore. Now for me personally, like I find it really, really difficult to make myself sore anymore just because of the volume of training that I do. So that's fortunately something that I don't combat a lot anymore, but definitely there were years where I was super sore.
But that's what, decades in the making right there to get to that point? Like it doesn't happen overnight or by the end of the month. Like.
Totally. Yeah. You know, if you're putting the hammer down, you're talking years for sure. Yeah. And then I would say con number 2 would be, and this, I think, man, this probably is one of the most common ones that happens is, you know, let's take our wives, for example, right? They'll do a CrossFit workout, which is some cockamamie, ridiculously extreme workout that even if I lined up for, I'd be like, whew, okay, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
They'll go in, they'll crush it, they'll put their heart and soul into this workout and it's fantastic and they're high-fiving, and then the next day they don't go back because why?
They're too sore.
Bingo. Yep. So they've overdone it. Now here's what happens is typically the DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, those will kick in even more after day 2, right? It hurts even more on the second day. So what happens on the second day?
They don't go.
Bingo. They don't go, right? So now what happens is it hits day 3, they're starting to feel a little better, but they're like, I don't want to feel like that again. I don't want to be that sore again. So they don't go day 4. They don't go to day 5. And this is a really, really common thing for people, is they'll go into the gym, they'll push it, trying to make up for lost time, exactly like you said, and then they'll end up getting so sore that they stop going, and then it starts this vicious cycle of not wanting to go again, and you just end up chasing yourself in circles. And then when they do go, now it's been a week or 2, and they're back to being sore again.
So to fix that, walk into the gym, dial it way down, and just go easy.
Totally. Just go easy for the first bit, man. Like you don't need to grind it out, right? You can just kind of wade into it a little bit and test some waters, see what your body thinks, find out maybe what tweaks are coming up that you didn't think you had tweaked, and maybe some past injuries or something like that. But you definitely don't need to go balls out the second you step in there. And I, a lot of people probably know that, but I would say from all the years that I've been doing this, that's probably the number one thing that stops most people is that they walk in, they go balls out, they either hurt themselves or they're too sore to come back. And then, the next time they come back in 3 weeks, they're sore again. So now it's even longer until they come back because they're getting more and more discouraged because they're like, well, what's the point? I come in here, I bust my ass, I'm sore, I can't get off the shitter. I end up waiting a couple weeks until I come back again. And then when I do, I just go through this stupid cycle again.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned was the tweaks. I find as I'm getting older, there's more and more of those. And it's tough to keep getting back in the gym, but I've learned ways to work around the tweaks, change what workouts I'm doing. So if running's bugging me that day, I'm on an air bike. If that's not working out, then I'm jumping on an elliptical. If I can't do a bench press or a squat, I'm finding something else. So I'm still getting a workout in. It just it's modified day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm no different. If I do, I don't know, let's say I do a ton of burpees, right? And the next day, for whatever reason, maybe a shoulder is bothering me or something like that, then I'll find something to kind of work around that, let that heal for a few days before I start kind of attacking it again. And even when I do come back and attack it, I'll slowly start to push the gas pedal down on it to make sure that it's recovered and good to go so that I don't get into this stupid cycle where you constantly are feeling like you're hurt.
Yeah.
So, so I think those are some cons, right? Because like I said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some things to consider. And I think those are a couple good points we brought up.
Yep. I definitely think the pros outweigh the cons.
For sure they do. Yeah. For sure they do. And I feel like all the cons, well, it's not even I feel like, I mean, really, we can prove this scientifically. The cons are all controllable.
They're self-induced, it seems
100%.
Like it's, any of those cons, it's my own fault.
Totally. 100. That's a great way to put it. They're self-induced, right? We can avoid all those things. And I get it. Like you're in the gym, you feel like you're or whatever, in the gym, outside running, whatever the hell it is, you're putting in the work and you want to see some benefits, right? So I get it that you think that if you push the gas pedal down a little harder, those benefits might come sooner. That's cool, right? Which kind of leads me to the next point, which is how long is this going to take, right? So let's say you do the 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, you're doing some, another little workout afterwards, right? Mm-hmm. How long does a person have to do this before they start seeing anything? Because again, let's face it, this is reality. Not everyone wants to work out all the time. Probably the number one burning question is, how long am I doing this shit before I can see some results?
Yeah. How long till it's actually worth it?
Yeah.
So I have no scientific backing. I'm just going to speak from what I've seen in my years and years at the gym and training. For me, it's about a month until I start seeing improvement. So I'm pretty good with keeping logs and journals.
You journal?
I do.
Does it have a little lock on it?
No. But I have this very nice pink journal that says Rise and Grind. It's the newest one that I started. And yeah, it takes about a month until I'm seeing improvement on my run times, on bumping up my lifts, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think that's... I'll say, so for those people who don't know, Rick has been training for a long, long time. Like, you were a high school football star, right?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, yes. But you've been training for a long, long time, so you have lots of experience in it.
Whether that or fighting or whatever, I've been training for a long time.
Right. Something as it relates to physical activity, let's say, right? In a roundabout way. So, your ability to pour the coal onto something for 4 weeks is probably going to be a lot more intense than someone else's ability, just based off of your experience alone, right? Now, if I'm taking the average person and applying the things that we talked about, like, ease into it, see what hurts in your body, listen to it, all those things we talked about to avoid the cons and avoid the negatives, then I would say you're probably looking at more like 3 months or maybe 6 months or something like that. Now, rest assured, literally every minute that you're doing something, your body's physiology is changing. Literally every minute. This is how the human body works. It's just not going to be an amount that you can actually notice a difference on. Gotcha. Right? So it's going to take a few months for it to build up until the average person can actually feel some effect of it. It's like when you go in the gym and you do sit-ups and then you rip your shirt up and you're looking for your abs, but it's still just a hairy belly. It's like that, right? So people think that going and doing a bunch of sit-ups is going to give them a six-pack, which, by the way, real quick, is complete BS. That you can't spot condition on your body. You can't say, I want to get rid of my love handles, so I'm going to work my waist. Your body doesn't give a shit about that. It stores its fats in different places for different reasons, and that's a genetic thing. So to get abs, you just have to lower your body fat. But anyway.
Did you ever see that? Sorry, this is a tangent. I think it's a 60s or 70s piece of equipment where you stand on it and it's got a band and it rubs and jiggles the sides.
I know, right?
Did that do anything? And if so, can we bring it back?
It is so frustrating to me that they even sold crap like that, because it's so far removed from being effective. It's insane. But if you look at it, I guess from their perspective, people want a quick fix, right? So they think they're throwing this rubber band on a shaky machine. It's really gonna give them abs, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe they must have sold a few of them.
Oh, for sure.
I kind of forget where I was going with all that now.
Oh, geez.
No. So that's what it was. So taking time, right? So, you can't spot train something that doesn't work, but it's going to take a couple months to notice some of the benefits for sure. Okay. Right now, here's the kicker to it, which is you've worked 6 months, a year. You're really starting to see an increase both on the bike and in your general health. You feel better, you're sleeping better, your appetite's better. You're seeing all these benefits, right? Here's a question, and I'm sure everyone wants to know this: how long until I click. How long can I stop doing this shit before I start losing the benefits, right? Like, that's wicked. I put in all this hard work and then I stop working out. How long can I ride this gravy train with biscuit wheels before before I start going back to what I was before. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So now there is a number to it. And again, this is all just kind of science-backed stuff. And it will vary a little bit from person to person, right? Again, genetics dictate a lot of the differences in us. But there is somewhat of a guideline to that. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'm just going off my personal experience.
So never. You literally can stop working out and you will never change.
I will stay the exact same. So with life happening, having a kid, that kind of stuff, I haven't been able to lift as hard or train as hard as I would like, or I've changed up the style of lifting. Recently, I've done some 1-rep max testing, and without doing that for months and months.
You set new PRs.
Not quite, but it stayed the same. So I'd say at least 3 to 6 months. And that was with me changing it up and doing different workouts. Like I didn't just sit on the couch and play video games the entire time, but I was still in the gym, still working.
Right. So you brought up a couple of really good points here. So I'll give you the answer. First of all, it's 7 days.
What?
Yes. Within 7 days of stopping that physical activity, your body will start reverting back to deconditioning.
Oh.
In 7 days, it will. It will. Now, here's the caveat, and here's why you were able to kind of remain where you were at without doing that specifically. Once your body has, and again, this is really, really genetically dependent, right? You're clearly built to be built like a rhino, whereas maybe you take someone who's super slim and has a super active thyroid. This is going to be different for them, right?
Okay.
But once you've built up that strength and tissue, you don't need a whole lot to sustain it. So once you've gone through the work to build that, you can dial it right back and still sustain what you already have. Your it doesn't need a whole lot more activation to maintain that. So to build on that, yes, you have to go to another level, right? But to keep your body thinking, okay, I need to hang on to this because he's not quite ready to, like he's still using it, right? And that's really what deconditioning is your body saying, oh, I guess the work's done. I don't need to hang on to this. I don't need my heart to be this fit. I don't need my lungs to be this good. I can just kind of start to decondition stuff, and because he doesn't use it anymore, your body doesn't need much activation or much stimulation to keep that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to know too. So with my experience, when I did have more time, it was training in the morning. So that'd be a heavy lift and cardio, usually some form of sprint. Yeah. And then in the evening, I'd be training with the coach for 2 to 3 hours. And so it's awesome that if you put in the time now and you build that base, that foundation, it sticks around as long as you're putting in some time. And
it does. And I'm talking also more specifically about strength and tissue and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
As far as lung capacity, like that cardio that we talked about, that will diminish a lot quicker.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's going to vary from person to person, right? Some people are genetically just able to have a larger lung capacity. Their body will adjust to it quicker than others. But it's probably like a lot like building it. Yes, within 7 days, your body will start to decondition. However, the rate that it does that at will be dependent on you, and the time elapsed before you notice that will also depend on you.
Okay, that makes sense because the cardio that goes very quickly on me.
Yeah.
If I don't stay on top of that, I can just watch it drift away.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, which is why I do so much running and stuff, because just genetically, I have to maintain that because my body's very happy to decondition and get rid of it. Gotcha. It's not because I enjoy it. It's just because for me to be able to keep up with what I need to do on a bike, whether that's motos or whatever, that's kind of what life handed me,
Gotcha.
So it's interesting. I like hearing people's thing because, I mean, I've been there too, where, I've done a diet and leaned out and gotten the abs and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's fantastic.
More lean than now?
What's that?
More lean than now?
Yes. I'm actually fairly chubby, believe it or not. So, but you have to do all this work and do all this, strict nutrition stuff to get that down. And you literally can blow that in less than a week.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to think that, okay, well, it took me 6 months to lose whatever it was, 20 pounds, let's say, right? I should be good for at least a month before I start to look anywhere like I did with that extra 20 pounds. Not the case. And again, this is going to be a whole other podcast on what happens with metabolic adaptation, but your body starts to make a lot of changes when you start losing weight, and it very, very quickly will try and regain what you had strictly for survival purposes.
Gotcha. So you're constantly fighting against your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, unfortunately, that's something that you're going to fight for till the end of time, right? We have to fight that deconditioning as human beings. That's never going to go away. But like we talked about on the top of the show, you can keep it really basic. You can keep it really straightforward, easy, quick, and you will still get the benefits that we're talking about. Again, as you scale that, you're going to get more benefits quicker, but it still doesn't need to be too extreme, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what else is that all we got for questions on that? I think that about covers it. Hey.
That's pretty much it. Just wondering, can we leave with a kind of a beginner intermediate workout for someone who's got access to a gym? What would you recommend?
Wow.
What would you recommend for me?
So, I mean, I would say that's kind of a loaded question, because you can pick out, any sort of cookie cutter routine, but then also knowing your genetics and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. As far as the beginner ones, again, just keeping it really straightforward, I would say doing, and it's so dependent on how much time you have and what your life is like. Just keeping it really basic, I would say, do at least half an hour, 30 minutes of cardio. I want to say, I'm a little more biased here, so I say at least 5 times a week.
Okay.
A lot of people can say, I don't have that much time. Okay, so maybe 3 times a week, right? But at least every other day sort of thing. You want to do something like that, and then include some sort of circuit training into there, or strength training, or mixing it up, anything like that. Again, for another 20 to 30 minutes.
Gotcha. And cardio, that's getting your heart rate up. That can be on the treadmill, elliptical, bike, you name it.
Yeah,
jogging.
Any form of getting your heart rate up, again, without getting into high intensity interval training, wanting to keep it around 60 to 70% of your max heart rate.
Gotcha. And you still have your Fit4Moto workout?
Yeah. So that's actually a really good point. So if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or wherever the heck you found us, which, first of all, thank you for checking this out.
Thank you.
Yeah, we actually do have a pretty in-depth workout plan. Actually, it took me almost a year to write this thing out. It's quite in-depth. It's got a full schedule, calendar. It tells you exactly what to do every single day. It's all laid out for you. It's a 12-week program. It's got 5 different phases in it that kind of builds on everything. I mean, it's really straightforward. You've seen it. Is it easy to follow?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's really effective, and it is very challenging, I will say. So if you're finding it too hard, you definitely can just scale it back. Just do half of what I mentioned in there. Okay. What I didn't want, though, is to put it out there as a general thing, and then for people like, oh, this isn't hard enough. This is too easy. Yep. So it is challenging, but that does have the benefit of being able to just scale it back to whatever you can do, and you're going to be fine. So if you go on to the website, fit4moto.com, www.fit4moto, fit4moto.com, it's free.
I was going to ask if there's a money back guarantee.
Yeah, there is. Zero money.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's totally free, man. I used to charge for it, and I just found that, you know what, to heck with it. I just want people to have it as a reference or a guide or whatever, and you can get your hands on that for free, and you'll be off to the races. And there is 2 of them, actually. There's one for like a beginner sort of, I call them weekend warrior, and then there's one for someone who's a little more serious. They have a little more time to train. So there's 2 different ones there. You can pick whichever one you want, and that should be helpful for you.
Awesome. Maybe I'll jump on that.
Yeah, there you go. Just grab any day on the calendar and get to work.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's super easy and convenient. So definitely check that out. Also check us out on Instagram at Fit4Moto, FIT4MOTO, Fit4Moto on Instagram. Yeah, man, follow us on there. Follow us on Facebook. Check out the YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're watching this, I would encourage you to subscribe. That helps us out huge, right?
Absolutely.
We really appreciate all of the help that everyone's given us, all the positive comments and everything. It's super awesome. Thanks for checking out the podcast. And hey, man, if you got a couple bucks kicking around in your pocket, hit us up on the Patreon. We have lots of sort of behind the scenes footage and extra videos, and you get into the Discord chat, and you get to have some one-on-one stuff with me.
Yeah, we were just at the track at Tabletop last week and did some cool behind the scenes stuff. So
yeah, we had Rick here clearing a step on, step off, which is not an easy jump. As a beginner, that is not an easy jump. So that was really cool to work through that.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah. You did it though. Got through it.
Yep.
Right on, man. Okay, so that's episode 5. Do you need to work out to ride better?
Answer is yes.
The answer is yes, a resounding yes. There are some things to work on. There are some things to work on. I wanted to say watch out for and work on, and it came out as work on.
I like it. Let's use it. We should work on using the sound effects.
There it is. We never use them. We need to add more onto this thing.
Just too far away.
I know, hey?
I need a stick.
Hey, what do you think of that one?
Love it.
That's good. Right on, man. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the episode number 5 of the Fit4Moto Academy podcast. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody. Work on.
Work on. I'd like to say I have a dry mouth from talking, but that's not it. I'm just an idiot.
Hardly. You could tell me 9 different calf muscles, but work on, that's where you stumble. Come on, dude.
Oh boy. I seriously will put things into Google. Like if I will put something in Google on my phone, and it's like I don't know what you're trying to say to me. I'm that bad at it. Oh, it's so bad. When Google can't figure out what the hell you're trying to say.
Yeah, Google's pretty smart. They tell me what I need all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Right on.